Hello, and welcome to today's assembly on a career in architecture. As most of you know, my name is Mr. Kiggins from the Design and Technology Department. Architecture is something that every single one of us interact with, from the homes that we live in, the schools and workplaces we go to, and the built infrastructure that we depend on for travel, shopping, and socializing. The towns and cities we live in have developed so far from the caves and stick shelters that we used to dwell. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to a friend of mine, David Fogliano. He works for the world-renowned Zaha Hadid Architect firm. He was born in Australia and has worked in London offices for the Zaha Hadid Architecture firm for 7 years now.
With you a little bit about the architectural profession and what it entails, and hopefully spark an interest for you in pursuing it as a possible career in the future. I currently work for Zaha Hadid Architects in London, and we are a world-renowned firm known for our very unique and organic form and style of architecture. And it was pioneered by our founder, Dame Zaha Hadid, who was a female British Iraqi architect. When I was younger, I always enjoyed art and design and kind of being creative, whether it was drawing cartoons and comics, building Lego, or just making something for a school project. I was also always interested in learning how things were put together. And I found it fascinating that everything that was around me had been thought about in terms of its design and how it looked, how it felt, what material it was, and how it was built and put together. And thanks to YouTube, I can spend many hours today scratching that kind of itch of curiosity. I studied architecture in Australia, where I grew up, and there was no prerequisites or subjects in high school that I had to do in order to be able to study architecture at university. Of course, I did art and design because I like the freedom in being able to set my own projects and the artistic license that came with it. I also really enjoyed mathematics, which many people thought was needed for architecture. It helps, but it's actually not necessary. But I actually did find that it helped me to develop my logical thinking and problem solving skills, which are very much applicable to the architecture profession. In a very broad sense, to me, architecture is fundamentally the understanding of different systems and how they work together and are brought together in order to create a final product. And this can relate to many industries and professions such as software engineering, economics, product design, and urban planning. Practically speaking, architecture is the social art and the artful science of designing buildings, spaces, and other physical structures. It's the art that provides us the physical built environment that we live in. It's about taking an abstract idea and developing it and seeing it realized as a complete built form. I think one of the best aspects of architecture is that it's one of the few practices that affects and interacts with everybody in their everyday lives on a subconscious level. Architecture is truly everywhere, each and every building, every home, office, school, hospital, supermarket, hotel. They were all carefully thought about and designed for their specific purpose. And architecture is also a sort of time capsule that gives us a glimpse of past generations and civilizations. Think about some of the great cities that are still here today, such as Rome or Cairo or Paris, where we've been able to learn so much about them and their history through the architecture. It also has the ability to inspire and delight us. You can think about your favorite city or place and how it can create an emotional response. There's the interesting fact about Hitler not wanting to bomb Paris when he invaded because he thought it was too beautiful and he wanted to preserve it. It can affect the way that we work and interact. It can support communities and neighborhoods. It can increase business productivity. It can improve health, and it can even decrease crime. It is our responsibility as architects that these buildings are of the highest quality and the highest standards, and they're designed to be the best possible solutions for their specific environment, for their specific use, and most importantly, the people who end up using them. It's not just about being someone who can draw nice buildings. In fact, being good at drawing is by no means a necessary or required skill. The truth is that the creative and design aspect is only a small part of the overall process. The role of an architect not only requires imagination and creativity, it also requires problem-solving skills, time management and multitasking, and the ability to work cohesively in a team and with other people. After an initial design concept is finalized, it then needs to be further developed so it can actually be built within a certain budget, on time, ensuring it serves its purpose for the end users in the best way possible, whilst maintaining the original architectural concept. And on the day-to-day level, this usually means a lot of meetings, emailing, talking and communicating with other disciplines such as structural and mechanical engineers, the client, the product manufacturers, project managers, and building contractors, just to name a few. So the role of an architect really is to gather and coordinate all this information, to kind of synthesize it and filter it down and represent this through drawings and digital 3D models. And thanks to advancements of computing technology in modern times, there are a lot more tools at our disposal to not only assist us in how we do our job, but also allows us to push the boundaries in terms of what can be achieved and how architecture can progress for the better. At Zaha Hadid Architects, we rely on a lot on computational design. That is design using software programming, scripts, and algorithmic automation in order to optimize and achieve the type of buildings that we are famous for. These digital technologies have expanded the architectural field and created more opportunities for jobs that rely on these particular sets of skills. In fact, we have entire teams dedicated to this type of research and development to help explore and advance our work. We are also embracing VR technology, where we can upload our building to the cloud and walk around it using a VR headset and get a real sense of what the space is going to be like, as well as use it for picking up, design constructions issues that need to be resolved before the building is actually physically built. I'm lucky enough to be working for one of my favorite architects who I admired since I started seeing her buildings whilst studying at university. Not only because of the amazing and crazy looking designs that she came up with and was able to have built, but also because of her passion and her drive to succeed in an industry that was and still is to some extent dominated by men. Some of my other favourite architects include Norman Foster, who designed the Gherkin in London, also Renzo Piano, who designed the Shard in London, Frank Gehry, Mies van der Rohe, Frank Lloyd Wright, just to name a few. If you're interested, I would encourage you to look up a few of these architects and their projects, and I'm sure you'll be impressed with what they're able to achieve. Even though they're all different in terms of their architectural aesthetic style and their approach, what makes them successful, at least to me, is their constant desire to think outside the box, to push the boundaries about what architecture is and what it can achieve and what it means to the people that experience and use it. I've been lucky enough to work on a number of wonderful projects during my 6 or so years at Zaha Hadid Architects. The one in particular, which I worked on for the better part of 3 years, is the KAFD train station in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. This project was part of a larger transport infrastructure project of the city, which consisted of basically a brand new train system around the city, which consisted of many stations, with this one being one of the few iconic or landmark stations. I specialize in what is known as building information modeling, or BIM. And this is essentially a way of delivering a project which involves creating a 3D digital model of the entire building and all of its components, and then using this model to produce drawings and provide lots of other data about the building in order to help it get built in a more efficient way. So gone are the days of the stereotypical image of an architect standing at his kind of large drawing board with his T-square and pens. This is the true current situation of the industry and the future of the profession. This particular project is due to be complete this year after the first designs for it were originally done way back in 2014. Some other projects I worked on are some residential towers in Northern Australia, international airports in Mumbai and Sydney, FIFA football stadium in Xi'an, which is also currently under very rapid construction, I must say. And I'm currently working on a pair of super tall skyscrapers in Shenzhen in China. All the best, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me.